Hello. My name is Unity Eberhard, and that's still really crazy to say because I got married in July, as Emma said, and I'm still kind of getting used to this last name, but it's pretty cool. I'm 19 years old, and I live in Winstead with my husband Ivan in a basement apartment. And now this is the part in a lot of people's talks when they would probably say, I would have never imagined that I'd be standing here today, or if you would have told me 5 years ago that I would have been doing this, I would have said you were crazy, that kind of thing. But I'm not most people. I suppose, to an extent, that I don't exactly feel qualified to be up here, but honestly, as long as I can remember, I really loved performing, reading, or speaking in front of a large group. So I knew that at some point in my life, I'd probably be at a podium or a stage somewhere, either teaching or speaking or something along those lines. So here I am. I hope that my story has a message for you and that God can reach you through it. I was born Unity Rain Waltner on July 17th, 2006 in Fridley, Minnesota, to a strong Baptist Christian family consisting of my mother, Katie, my father, Lee, my sister, Jasmine. My sister, Alex, was born about a year and a half after me. My dad, Lee, worked as a full-time surgical technician. He often left for work before us kids got up and came home after we were in bed. Though we missed him, we knew that he was doing his best to provide for the family. I can remember quoting Colossians 3:23, whatever the task, work heartily as if working for the Lord and not for men. The hidden blessing in his busy schedule was that it made time with him all the more valuable. He always went to great lengths to make the women in his house feel special too, whether it was leaving cute notes around the house for us or taking us to a Timberwolves game. But most importantly, Lee was on fire for the Lord. He knew how important it was to give time to God. He was in multiple Bible studies, and he played drums in the worship band on Sundays. I would sometimes watch him play, and I wanted to be as zealous as he was about God. I was baptized, per my request, on March 3, 2016, as our church did not baptize infants. It was a wonderful day in my house, and we threw a huge party. I felt like I had really discovered Jesus, instead of just hearing about him. The following month, my mom told me something really cool. Alex, Lee, and I were going to be going on a road trip to our yearly family reunion. Just us three, where usually the whole family would go. I was so excited because this meant lots of time with my dad. We departed on April 15th, the day before the reunion. At about 8 o'clock that night, however, our car was struck head-on by a car that veered into our lane, and my father was killed on impact. I was sitting behind him, and I broke multiple bones in my leg and in my wrist. Alex was overall okay, with only a seatbelt burn, a few minor cuts, and some bruises. But you want to know what the really amazing part about all of this was? Is the whole time that we were waiting for first responders and being removed from the car, none of us felt any pain. Witness reports and 911 calls would say that there were 3 people in the back seat of the car, even though it was just me and my sister. They said that there was a woman sitting between us, praying with us. She was gone by the time the paramedics and police arrived. Now, our car was smashed so badly that they had to use the jaws of life to get Alex and I out of the car. There was no way that somebody could have entered and left the back seat. I believe now that that woman was the Blessed Mother and that she had wrapped us in her mantle to shield us from our physical pain. Obviously, my family was devastated and my mother was broken. But all of this changed when she met Joe Kelly later that year. Very quickly, but accompanied by much prayer and advice, they dated and became married in February of 2017. Shortly after, Joe adopted Alex, Jasmine, and I, and we became Kellys too. Joe was, and is, a very devout Catholic. So being, he asked my mom if she would consider going through RCIA, or OCIA as it is now called. She entered with suspicions, but found the faith to have all the answers she was looking for. Excited with her new knowledge, she asked Alex and I if we wanted to join the church also. And we said, sure, why not? We trusted our mom, and we three received our first communions on Easter Vigil of 2017. I was homeschooled from kindergarten through 6th grade. For 7th grade, my family decided to send Alex and I to St. Joseph Catholic School in Laconia. I was really excited for school, and as the year progressed, I really enjoyed the schedule and the academic rigor. However, I would soon learn that the social aspect of middle school can be tricky to navigate. You're trying to figure out who you are, what kind of person you want to be, but more importantly, you're asking yourself, where do I fit in? Do I fit in? Do people like me? And what do I do if people don't like me? I found my answers fairly quickly. No, I didn't really fit in. I couldn't connect with the girls in my class, though I did truly try. Maybe the boys? Well, here's the thing. Middle school boys and middle school girls don't normally get along. So I realized immediately that I couldn't act like a girl if I was going to make friends with the boys. So I decided to act more boyish, wearing flannels, jeans, and sneakers whenever possible. I joined the robotics team for my grade, which at the time was all male. At the end of 8th grade, I cut my hair extremely short. When I say extremely, I mean extremely, like it was almost all gone. And I spent most of the summer trying to convince my family that it was not a boy haircut. I developed a mindset that would stick with me for a few years, that being girly is bad. Now, in my young mind, being feminine or girly meant that you had to wear lots of pink and skirts and makeup. Now, I wasn't too keen on any of that, and in my mind, if I couldn't be girly, I had to be boyish. I never ever thought that I was a boy, thank my parents and my Catholic church teaching, but I thought that acting like one was definitely the way to go. This mindset sort of worked. I made friends with one boy in my grade and 3 boys in the grade below me. Being a hormonal teenager, I developed and lost romantic feelings for a few of these friends, and people would talk about me as being boy crazy. Well now, I didn't like that reputation either, so how am I supposed to make friends and navigate this middle school stuff? At a point soon after this, I realized something. People, and friendships in general, are just tricky. It's not just the girls. I learned to be a little more careful in the friends that I picked and how I treated people, and my friendships started to stick. Over my 2 years at St. Joe's, I accumulated 2 strong girlfriends. I gained a few more girlfriends during my high school years at Holy Trinity, and I'm proud to say that now I have 4 ladies that I can truthfully call my best friends. Having strong girlfriends may be one of the most important things that has ever happened to me. Womanly friendships help me break the mindset that everything feminine is bad. Feminine. As I mentioned before, I thought that being feminine meant always wearing lots of pink and purple and makeup and dresses, that kind of thing. I know now that it's not confined to just that. There are so many ways to express your femininity without forsaking it. You could race a car, or go dirt biking, weld, build a house, operate a crane, or bodybuild, and still remain firmly planted in your femininity. Mary, the perfect woman, the ideal woman, is commonly shown standing or stomping on a serpent, representing the devil. That's pretty cool. Moving on with my story, an extremely impactful event in my life was joining the track and field program at Howard Lake Waverly Winstead in 9th grade. I wasn't the fastest or the best by any means, but what I lacked in athleticism, I made up for with passion. I loved the people in the track program, and I made some of my best friends there, including a boy named Ivan Eberhard. Him and I will often joke that our relationship started with a Twinkie. I often brought lots of snacks to track meets, and I had told him that I would give him a Twinkie if he passed his permit test. He passed, so I gave him the Twinkie. As Ivan would say at this point, "You gave me food. I'm your problem now." Ivan and I have been inseparable since then. He would often follow me to the pole vaulting pits after he was done with his long distance workouts. Pole vaulting was my passion, and I would spend any extra practice time I had over there. I worked my butt off during my senior year, and I ended up breaking the Howard Lake Waverly Winstead school record for pole vault. The day that I broke that record was the second best day of my life so far. The first is my wedding day. So back to Ivan. Honestly, I'm not sure how I didn't notice that he had a crush on me sooner. He and his friends would tell me later that his whole mannerism changed when I walked up to him, that he talked nonstop about my smile, and that he wanted to ask me out, but he didn't want to make our friendship awkward. In May of 2023, Ivan asked me out. At first, I wasn't sure what to do. I knew saying yes could change some of my relationships, and I didn't want to cause hurt. So I prayed, I talked to a lot of people, and I got their advice, and I waited on the Lord to please make this clear. And in the end, I felt that God was still leading me to take this step of faith and begin this relationship with Ivan. It was not easy. I lost a close friendship during that time, and my faith was really tested. My feminine heart was breaking. I wanted to keep all of my friends. I couldn't see how any of this was going to work out for good. But God asked me to just trust him and to walk forward even when it felt uncertain. Now, I can look back and I see his hand all over this story. Ivan proposed last October. We were married in July. And today, we are living in a love that's far greater than anything we could have ever imagined. God is so faithful. Through my preparation to give this talk, God told me to connect this following passage to my talk. This is a very familiar story to most Catholics, but if you haven't heard it before, or even if you have, I suggest you listen very closely to these words. So this is Luke chapter 2, verses 41 to 52. It's the story of finding Jesus in the temple. Now, his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up according to custom. And when the feast was ended, as they were returning, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. His parents did not know it, but supposing him to be in the company, they went a day's journey, and they sought him among their kinsfolk and acquaintances. And when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem, seeking him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. And when they saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Son, why have you treated us so? Behold, your father and I have been searching for you anxiously." And he said to them, "How is it that you sought me? Did you not know that I must be in my father's house?" And they did not understand the saying which he spoke to them. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. And his mother kept all these things in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. So, one of the most meaningful things that I realized about this story while I was rereading it was the fact that Jesus didn't run away from Mary and Joseph. They left him. Not intentionally, of course, but Jesus stayed and continued his mission to love and serve and evangelize while Joseph and Mary went on. Joseph and Mary realized their error, though, and went back to find Jesus doing exactly what he was sent to do. Mary was so convinced and rooted in her identity as the Mother of God that she took on a nearly impossible task, finding a little boy in a very large city. She took it head on, without fear. She knew, without any doubt, that this was what she was called to do. And even after the fact, she is keeping everything in her heart. I like other translations a little bit better that say that she pondered all of these things in her heart. She knows that her life has a deep meaning and that whatever happens to her is God's plan. She views everything as a part of God's will. Looking back at my life, I'm able to see how this story speaks to my identity and to my calling. I have an identity in Christ. I'm his daughter. That identity cannot be moved or shaken, no matter where I go, what I do, or who I interact with. My experience in middle school taught me that I can lose sight, misunderstand, or feel disconnected from my femininity. My relationship troubles throughout my teenage years taught me that my value doesn't lie in who likes me or who I hang out with. The prevailing truth is that I can't escape the fact that I am a woman and that I belong to God. This is a deep blessing. This means that as long as my words and actions remain rooted in my identity as God's daughter, I can do whatever I want without fear. Now, I embrace my femininity with passion. I'll give you a few examples, but again, as a disclaimer, I'm not saying that my choices are correct or anything. There are just so many different ways to express your femininity. So I still wear jeans, sneakers, and flannels, but they don't define my identity anymore. I wear what makes me feel confident and womanly, regardless of what other people think. I know that no matter what anybody says, I'm loved by God and my true friends. I am open to and excited to have children. My ability to childbear is an essential part of my body and spirit. And I enjoy reading complex literature, because the female mind is wonderful at marinating and stewing about ideas and events. Sometimes to a fault, right? There are a lot of stories here tonight. Every single one of you is a beautiful daughter of God with a story that's formed you into who you are today. I can say with certainty that there are many of you in this room that are struggling with a fear of some sort. Fear of not having enough money, fear of death, fear of rejection, fear of pain, fear of the future. Or maybe you, like me in my earlier years, are unsure how to be a woman in today's world. I get it. I've been there. Our culture is pushing so many different standards and beliefs that it's hard to know which ones we're supposed to follow. Here's my suggestion to you all, and my advice, my action plan, that's based on the actions of Mary in the story of finding Jesus in the temple. Step 1, recognize where you are. Verse 44 and 45 says, they sought him among their kinsfolk and acquaintances, and they did not find him. Look at your life and your soul. See the distance between you and God. Are you where you want to be? You don't need to dwell on it so long that you begin to despair. Just a small humbling of yourself. I am not where I want to be, and I need God's help. Or, I don't feel like my true womanly self. Step 2, search. Verse 45, they returned to Jerusalem seeking him. This is the call to action. Look for Jesus. Jesus is everywhere, but sometimes it can take a special effort to truly recognize and feel it. Now, this journey varies in length for each person, but never stop trying. You might have to try a few different avenues, as every person's relationship with God is different. The sacraments are wonderful options, especially Mass and confession. Adoration and praise can also be very powerful. Personally, I find myself deeply moved by sacred music, especially choirs singing. A search could also just be a simple opening of your heart to the Lord. He's been searching for you too, but he cannot enter unless you let him. A lot of us have heard the verse from Revelation 3 verse 20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in. Step 3, find and rejoice. Verse 46 and 48. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, and when they saw him, they were astonished. At this point, Jesus will reveal himself to you. Let him into your heart, into the broken and the messy parts. Again, this can look different for each person. This could be talking to a friend or a priest. In regards to prayer, you may see or hear a word that'll just pop in your head. It may be clarity about something that you weren't sure about. It may be just a warm feeling, a sense of peace. A lot of times, for me, it feels like this lightness in my body, like I'm literally being lifted up to higher things and this happiness that I just can't explain. Step 4 is to ponder. Verse 51, Mary kept all these things in her heart. Don't forget about this experience. Don't let your joy end right then and there with the experience. Journal, meditate, tell somebody about what happened to you. And if you ever feel separated from God or your feminine identity again, remember this moment and what led you to it. Now, this spiritual cycle isn't going to be a one and done. You're going to have to repeat it either every day or week or month even. Search for and find God in your life and let him heal your wounds and calm your worries, and then rejoice that he never truly left you in the first place. Women, all of us here are sisters, mothers, wives, daughters. Hold fast to your femininity. It's a vital part of you. Embrace every aspect of it. Because once your compass of your femininity is pointed towards God, you can sail wherever you please without fear of being lost. Play the instrument. Say yes to the opportunity. Learn to dance. Try the sport. Talk to that person. Wear those big, obnoxious earrings. As Joan of Arc, my confirmation, said very well, go forward bravely, fear nothing, trust in God, and all will be well. Thank you very much.